Blue jays are some of the loudest, boldest birds in your backyard, and most people think they know them well. But there's one question we're going to answer by the end of this video. Is the blue jay actually as simple as it looks, or is it hiding something bigger behind that loud call? Today we're covering 5 things you probably never knew about the blue jay, and fact number 1 might change the way you look at every jay in your yard, because that blue you're seeing isn't even real. If you live in the eastern half of North America, you've almost certainly seen a blue jay before. Loud, sharp-voiced, unmistakable with that crest and that bold blue coloring. But familiarity hides a lot of strange biology, and by the end of this video, you'll understand this bird in your yard in a completely different way. Blue jays are not actually blue. That brilliant color you see has no blue pigment in it at all. Instead, it comes from the microscopic structure of the feather itself. Inside each feather barb are tiny pockets of keratin arranged in a way that scatters light, and blue wavelengths are the ones that bounce back to your eyes. This is called structural color, and it's the same basic principle behind why the sky looks blue. If you ever find a blue jay feather in your own yard and crush it, the blue disappears completely. What's left is a dull brown, because you've destroyed the microscopic structure that was reflecting the light. The pigment underneath was brown all along. So every time you see that flash of blue over your fence line, you're not looking at a pigment. You're looking at a trick of physics happening on the surface of a feather. And that's just the first clue that this bird is a lot stranger than it looks. Blue jays are talented impersonators, and one of their favorite impressions is a hawk. Specifically, they can imitate the call of a red-shouldered hawk almost perfectly. Researchers have documented blue jays doing this in a few different situations. Sometimes it seems to clear other birds away from a feeder, since a hawk call sends smaller birds scattering for cover. Other times, it may be used to alert other jays that a real hawk is somewhere nearby. There's even a theory that young jays practice the call as part of learning the vocal range of their species. What makes this even more impressive is that blue jays are part of the corvid family, a group of birds known across the world for exceptional vocal learning and problem solving. So the next time you hear what sounds like a hawk over your own house, take a second look. It might just be a blue jay in your yard putting on a performance. Blue jays may be one of the reasons oak forests spread the way they did after the last ice age. Blue jays are scatter hoarders, meaning they collect acorns and other seeds and bury them in dozens, sometimes hundreds, of separate locations to eat later. A single jay can carry several acorns at once in its throat and stash them across a wide territory in a single day. The catch is that jays don't always come back for every acorn they bury. The ones left behind get a head start buried just under the soil, which is exactly what an acorn needs to sprout. Some researchers studying the post-glacial spread of oak trees across North America have pointed to birds like the blue jay as a likely factor in how quickly oaks recolonized areas after the ice retreated, since oak trees themselves have no way to move that fast on their own. In other words, the oak tree in your own backyard might be there because a blue jay forgot where it put something thousands of years ago. Now here's where it gets stranger. That kind of memory doesn't just apply to ancient history. It applies to what's happening in your yard right now, and it's about to get a lot more personal than you'd expect from a bird that just screams at your feeder. Blue jays don't just remember where they hide food. They remember who's watching them do it. In controlled studies, jays that noticed another bird observing them hide food would often wait, then quietly return later to move that food to a new, unseen location once the observer left. That means the jay isn't just storing a location in its head. It's forming something close to an assumption about what another bird knows, and adjusting its own behavior to protect itself from being robbed. Researchers consider this a marker of real social reasoning, something usually associated with much larger-brained animals, not a backyard songbird eating out of your feeder. This kind of behavior falls under what scientists sometimes call theory of mind, the ability to understand that another individual has its own separate set of knowledge, and that this knowledge can be different from your own. For a long time, that ability was considered almost exclusively a human trait, something reserved for animals with unusually large and complex brains. Seeing hints of it in a bird you casually watch fighting over sunflower seeds at your feeder is part of why corvid researchers keep getting surprised by this family of birds. It isn't just that jays remember where they put things. It's that they seem to model what other individuals around them are likely to do next, and quietly adjust their own plans to stay one step ahead. That kind of awareness shows up in small, easy-to-miss moments if you know what to look for. So if you've ever caught a jay pausing and staring at you before grabbing a peanut and flying off, there's a real chance it was deciding, in that moment, whether you could be trusted, whether another bird nearby was paying attention, or whether it was safer to carry that food somewhere out of sight before committing to a hiding spot. Some observations even suggest jays will fake a caching motion, digging and covering an empty spot while a rival watches, only to hide the real food somewhere else entirely once they're alone. If that sounds almost deceptive, that's because in a functional sense it is. It's a level of social strategy that most people never expect from a bird at their feeder. And that instinct to protect resources doesn't stop with hidden food. It extends to the entire flock, including birds you'd never expect a jay to care about at all. Blue jays do not fight alone, and they don't just look out for themselves. When a hawk or an owl shows up near a nest, a single jay will sound an alarm call that is loud, sharp, and specific enough that other jays in the area recognize exactly what kind of threat is nearby. Within minutes, multiple jays can converge on the predator and begin mobbing it together, diving, screaming, and harassing it until it leaves the area. This works because predators like hawks and owls rely heavily on surprise. A hawk hunting near a nest is counting on a quiet approach and an unsuspecting target. The moment that plan gets interrupted by a wall of noise and a crowd of birds diving at its head from every direction, the entire hunt falls apart. Owls in particular tend to struggle with mobbing behavior, since they're built for stealth and low light, and have far fewer defenses against a coordinated daytime assault from multiple directions at once. Once a predator has been spotted, named by the alarm call, and surrounded, staying around simply costs more energy than it's worth, and it usually retreats to somewhere quieter. What's especially interesting is that this alarm system doesn't just protect jays. Cardinals, sparrows, chickadees, and a long list of other backyard species have learned to recognize the blue jay's specific alarm call, even though none of them can produce anything close to it themselves. Some studies on mixed species flocks have found that smaller birds will actively position themselves near blue jays during the day, essentially treating them as a built-in early warning system in exchange for nothing more than proximity. It's a one-sided alarm, but a shared benefit, and it means the loudest, most obnoxious bird at your feeder might also be the reason every other bird nearby gets a few extra seconds of warning before a hawk ever shows up. There's even evidence that some of this protective behavior extends beyond simple alarm calls. Blue jays have been observed mobbing predators near active nests that aren't even their own, especially in areas where multiple jay families share overlapping territory. Researchers studying corvid social structure suggest this kind of shared defense may help explain why jay populations in a given area tend to be unusually stable compared to more solitary songbirds. A predator that learns an area is defended by a coordinated group of loud, aggressive birds is more likely to hunt somewhere else entirely, which quietly benefits every nest in that neighborhood, not just the jays involved in the mobbing itself. It's worth noting that none of this cooperative behavior comes from any single jay being especially heroic. Individually, a blue jay gains very little from mobbing a hawk that isn't threatening its own nest. The advantage only shows up at the level of the group and the wider neighborhood over time, which is part of why some researchers describe this kind of alarm calling and mobbing as a form of low-cost, high-return cooperation. The bird sounding the alarm risks almost nothing by calling out, but every neighbor within earshot gains a real shot at survival. Multiply that across dozens of jays and a handful of breeding seasons, and you start to see how a single loud, easily overlooked habit can quietly stabilize an entire local bird population year after year, long after any one jay involved has come and gone. So to answer the question from the start of this video, no, the blue jay in your yard is not simple at all. It's not blue, it's not always honest about being a hawk, it may have helped shape entire forests, it's tracking who's watching it, and it's quietly protecting every bird around it whether they know it or not. The loudest bird at your feeder might be the most switched-on animal in your entire yard, and the more researchers study corvids, the more that description keeps proving accurate. None of this is really about one clever species, either. It's a reminder that some of the most sophisticated behavior in the animal kingdom is happening in plain sight, in ordinary backyards, performed by a bird most people have learned to tune out as background noise. The next time a blue jay starts screaming at your feeder, it's worth remembering that it might be solving a small social puzzle in real time, and you happen to be part of the equation. It also says something about how much backyard wildlife gets overlooked simply because it's familiar. A hawk or an owl gets treated like a rare, exciting sighting, something worth grabbing a camera for. A blue jay gets treated like noise. But the research keeps pointing the same direction. Familiarity isn't the same thing as simplicity. The animals people see every single day, the ones common enough to become background scenery, are often carrying the most interesting behavior of all, simply because nobody bothered to look closely enough to notice it. That's really the pattern behind all 5 facts in this video, A bird everyone assumes they already understand, turning out to be one of the more quietly complicated animals sharing your yard with you. If you want to see just how far this goes, we've got another video breaking down the secret intelligence of crows and ravens, the blue jay's closest cousins, and what they can do will genuinely surprise you. It's linked right after this one. So there you have it. 5 things you may not have known about the blue jay living in your own backyard. If this changed the way you'll look at that bird next time it shows up, do us a favor and send this to someone you know who feeds the birds in their yard. They're going to want to see this too. And if you enjoyed learning about the secret life of the birds around your home, make sure to subscribe for more videos just like this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.